Hey, what's up guys? It's Jordan. Today's next to my Pokemon top 5s. This is top 5 fighting types. Now of course, two things before we get started. One, this list will not include Legendaries. I plan on making a whole list in the future just for them. And secondly, this list is based on my personal favourites. It's impossible to list the best because everyone has different opinions. So if you don't agree with my top 5, make sure you let me know yours in the comment section below. And of course, make sure you hit that like button because you know your support is greatly appreciated. So let's move on to our countdown. This is top 5 fighting types. Coming in the number 5 spot, we've got Hitmontop. Now, you're probably wondering, why would I pick Hitmontop over Hitmonchan and Hitmonlee? The reason I do that is because, I love all three of them, but the thing about Hitmontop is, his fighting style, just the way Hitmontop is, it reminds me a lot of my childhood, because I used to play the game Tekken a lot. Anyone who doesn't know what Tekken is, it's a fighting game, like Street Fighter. When I played Tekken, there was one character who I especially loved and his name was Eddie Gordo. He was a capoeira fighter, so he's like all the dancing moves when he fights. When I see Hitmontop, I just think of Eddie Gordo. Just the way Hitmontop spins on his head. Eddie Gordo never span on his head, but just the way Hitmontop fights and the way he moves around is like Eddie Gordo from Tekken. Like, I'll admit, probably the moves of Hitmonchan and Hitmonlee I like better than Hitmontop, but I just prefer Hitmontop. I just always have, always will. Hitmontop's just a really cool Pokemon. Hitmontop is in the number 5 spot. Coming in the number 4 spot, we've got Poliwrath. Now for a long time, I hadn't used Poliwrath, and Poliwrath was way back in Gen 1. I always liked Poliwrath, but there was just so many other Pokemon I would use. Recently, I decided to do a Wonderlock for Pokemon Alpha Sapphire. Anyone who doesn't know what a Wonderlock is, it's kind of like a Nuzlocke. If you don't know what a Nuzlocke is, it's where you can only encounter one Pokemon from each route. If a Pokemon faints, it's considered dead and you must release it, or I just box it up. It's just stuff like that. A Wonderlock is pretty much a Nuzlocke, except the Pokemon that you catch in each route, you gotta Wonder Trade it off, and then whatever Pokemon you get back, that's your Pokemon. When I was doing the Alpha Sapphire Wonderlock, one of the first Pokemon I got in the game was a Poliwag. I trained it up, I found a Water Stone, so I evolved it. I had to evolve into Poliwrath because I've always preferred it over Politoed. I do like Politoed, I just prefer Poliwrath. Poliwrath just hits harder. I love fighting Pokemon, and Poliwrath is just a powerful Pokemon. Poliwrath was on my team pretty much the whole game. Poliwrath was probably one of my longest members because I finished my Wonderlock. And yeah, Poliwrath was probably there for the longest time out of any. Poliwrath's just a powerful Pokemon. I love its dual typing of water and fighting. I think it's a really good type. Poliwrath's just strong, has those great water attacks as well as hard hitting attacks. And it helped that when I got Poliwag through the Wonder Trade, it was adamant nature, meaning physical attack is boosted. So it sucked that special attack was low, so I couldn't use a lot of good water attacks. But it didn't matter, when I could hit hard with its fighting type attacks, my Poliwrath was just awesome, and I just love Poliwrath so much. Poliwrath is just such an awesome Pokemon. Poliwrath is in the number 4 spot. Coming in the number 3 spot, we've got Infernape. Now something I totally regret doing is not putting Infernape in my top 5 fire types, because Infernape is such an awesome Pokemon. It's just, I love fire types. Infernape would have most likely been my number 6, and it would have been hard keeping it out of my top 5. Infernape is just such a powerful Pokemon. Infernape and its evolution line would definitely be my favourite of the Gen 4 starters. I've always been a fan of the fire type Pokemon, and even though Infernape was pretty much another Blaziken, because it was the fire fighting final form, it didn't bother me, just because Infernape was awesome. I'll admit, I didn't like Emboar as much, we didn't need another fire fighting type after Infernape. But still, Infernape was just awesome. Great attacks, awesome design. Infernape in the anime is so cool. I love Ash's Infernape. That battle against Paul in the Pokemon League, that's one of my favourite battles of all of the Pokemon anime. That Infernape and Electivire battle was insane. Like, watching the whole Sinnoh saga of Pokemon, you saw it from Chimchar. Like, this Chimchar used to be Paul's, Ash's rival. Paul released Chimchar because Paul's a dick. Ash decided to take Chimchar, and then over the time, they kept encountering Paul, and the Chimchar had an awesome rivalry with Paul's Elekid. And then over time, you had Monferno and Electabuzz, and then in the Pokemon League, Ash vs Paul, it was the battle we'd been waiting for, Infernape versus Electivire, and it was just insane. And at the end of it, I don't really want to spoil it, but I want to talk about it. In the battle at the end, Infernape looks like he's about to be taken out. Infernape's Blaze ability kicks in, getting an insane power, and it destroys Electivire. epic moment in Pokemon, one of my favourite moments. Infernape is just such a powerhouse. I absolutely love Infernape. Infernape is in the number 3 spot. Coming in the number 2 spot, we've got Lucario. I don't know what to say about Lucario. Lucario, I've loved since the first second I saw him. Lucario is just such a powerhouse. Some amazing moves, amazing design, awesome typing, steel and fighting. Or is it fighting and steel? I don't know. Both those types are just awesome. And then on top of that, in Gen 6, Lucario gets a Mega Evolution. It was one of the first Pokemon to get it. And God, in the games of Pokemon X and Y, the main Pokemon they associated Mega Evolution with was Lucario. Because in the game of Pokemon X and Y, you get given a Lucario and a Lucario. So Lucario is probably one of the most commonly used Megas. And there's nothing wrong with that because Lucario is just such an awesome Pokemon. But like, look at some of Lucario's attacks. Aura Sphere was like Lucario's signature attack. I remember first seeing Lucario use Aura Sphere. It was just awesome. One of my favourite Pokemon attacks. Aura Sphere would probably be in my top 5 Pokemon attacks. I just absolutely love Aura Sphere. I think it's an awesome move. And then on top of that, you had the move Bone Rush, which, when you look at the details of Bone Rush, it's not like the best move in the world. But in the anime, Bone Rush is just insane. Bone Rush was one of those moves that was like suited for like Marowak, because it has the Bone Club, which is hit a few times with the club. But in the anime for Lucario, when it used Bone Rush, it puts its hands together and then pretty much makes this lightsaber looking bone. And then it fights with it. And I was only watching something recently, it was in the new series of Pokemon X and Y, the anime, in that Karina was versing Ash. Karina had Lucario, Ash obviously with Pikachu, and Karina's Lucario, it used Bone Rush, so it made that awesome looking staff thing it has. And then it fought Pikachu, and it just did this awesome swing, it kicked Pikachu's ass. Mind you, Bone Rush is a ground type move and Pikachu's electric, but still, it just looked awesome. Lucario just has an awesome moveset. Awesome design, love Mega Lucario. One of the most commonly used Megas, as well as probably one of my favourite Megas, if not my favourite Mega. Lucario is just such an awesome powerhouse Pokemon. Lucario is in the number 2 spot. Coming in the number 1 spot, he was number 1 on my top 5 fire types, and now he's on the top 5 fighting types. We have Blaziken. Blaziken is probably one of the main reasons I am a Gen 3 fanboy. When Gen 3 first came out, I couldn't look at any other Pokemon but Blaziken. Blaziken is just insane. I knew I was going to be picking Torchic as my starter when Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire came out all those years ago. Blaziken was just insane. It was the first firefighting starter, so at the time that was new. It was just an awesome dual typing. Its signature move Blaze Kick was awesome. Probably my favourite Pokemon move of all time. It's not the strongest Pokemon move, obviously, but it's just an awesome move. Blaziken was just a Pokemon I always had to use. All 3 years of playing Pokemon since Ruby and Sapphire came out, if I got a Blaziken, somehow, I would use him. Blaziken is just an awesome, insane Pokemon. One day I had this Pokemon Emerald version, which I had moved the Blaziken I got from originally from Pokemon Ruby, the first time I ever had a Blaziken. It was level 100. Awesome moveset. It was just such a cool Pokemon. I moved over to this Pokemon Emerald game I got, and it turned out the Pokemon Emerald was like this shitty version where when you hit, once you beat the Elite Four, it erases all save data. So it meant I lost that Blaziken. That was one of the saddest days of my life. That's pretty sad, but yeah, it was one of the saddest days. I was really upset. But over the years, I've gotten plenty more Blazikens. Most of them are level 100, if not all of them. All with amazing movesets, way better than the Blaziken I had back in Pokemon Ruby. Blaziken has always been a favourite Pokemon of mine. If I made a top 5 favourite Pokemon of all time, Blaziken would absolutely be on that list. Without a doubt, Blaziken is one of my favourite Pokemon of all time. Favourite fire type, and my favourite fighting type. Blaziken is in the number 1 spot. Well, there you go. That's my top 5 fighting type Pokemon. Now, of course, like I said, if you didn't agree with my top 5, make sure you let me know yours in the comment section below. And make sure you subscribe to my channel. That way you can keep up to date with all my future Pokemon top 5s. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in my next video.